Welcome to Dead Man Talking. Tonight's story is from the incredible mind of Corpse Child over on Reddit No Sleep. And as ever, please do let us know what you thought down below in the comments box. Please do like and share. It really does help build the channel and our community further. And why not hashtag TeamFEAR and DMT's Cryptid Crew. And so, with that aside, let's get into tonight's story, entitled The Night the Pack Came. Let's get straight into that. I'm so scared right now, more than I ever thought I could be. I'm scared for me, my baby, but most of all, I'm scared for John. It's been 2 days now, and I still haven't seen or heard from him. I've tried asking a guy at the front desk if he's heard from the ranger, but nothing. God, wherever you are, John, please be okay. It all happened so fast. One moment everything was peachy keen, snuggled up under a nice soft blankets, fast asleep for once. Something that doesn't happen too often when 2 months pregnant. Expecting at any moment to feel John's firm, yet gentle arms embrace me, letting me know that he was home from another night in the woods. 2 nights ago, however, I was violently shaken awake. Loretta! It was dark and I could barely register his voice. Loretta! This time he barked my name a little more abrasively, causing me to jolt a bit. Huh? Come on, honey. We have to go now. I could tell by now that something wasn't right. He'd never spoken to me like this before, and I could hear him breathing heavily. When I turned over and clicked on the light, my heart damn near stopped dead. His clothes were in tatters, and he had scratches all over him, as well as what looked like teeth marks from some wild animal. I almost screamed. Oh my God, John, what in the name of... I said now, come on, he shouted, cutting me off. And I was frozen, both from shock and fear. Never once had that man raised his voice to me like this, even when we'd fight. I was usually the loudmouth while he was the speak soft and carried a bigger stick type. Don't just sit there staring like an idiot at me. Get moving. And sure enough, my stupor was broken, and I made my way out of bed. Start unpacking the dresser. Grab a few changes of clothes. We may be gone for a good while. My head spun furiously. What the hell is going on? Why do we have to leave? Where are we going? Does he even know? Why is he covered in scratches? How long are we going to be gone? I finally managed to stammer out, panicked and still somewhat half asleep. He rubbed his face and said through his palms, God, I don't know, just come on, get moving. And I shambled to the dresser as he stomped down the hallway. I started opening the drawers and slowly pulling out the neatly folded clothes and setting them on the bed. And soon he returned with our vacation suitcases. Here, just throw them in, he said, snatching a handful and tossing it haphazardly into the suitcase. I noticed as he continued to cram our clothes into the suitcase that he was shaking, like at any second he would explode. When I pleaded, Johnny, baby, what is it? What? As I went to try and put my hand on his shoulder to calm him down, he batted my hand away. Damn it, woman, not now! Startled, I retracted my hand away like I just touched a hot ring of a stove. He looked at me like he'd just committed a murder. His eyes were bulging and were covered in large red veins. My eyes began to burn and I could feel tears filling them up. He winced and buried his face in his palms again. God, Loretta, baby, I'm so sorry. I could hear his voice shaking when he said that. Now the tears were in full swing. On top of the confusion as to why he had to leave in the dead of the night like fugitives. Now I was petrified with thoughts of something out in the woods that's making my husband break down like this. Keep in mind, John Redwood was not one to frighten easily. For starters, the man was built like a lumberjack, almost all muscle too. He was also very much an outdoorsman, always spending most of his downtime in the woods. It was half the reason we even bought this house in the mountains of Jackal's Peak. Now, add in the fact that he is also a full-time bouncer at a nearby tavern, especially known for dealing with the larger-sized patrons who became unruly. and you'd see how chilling it was seeing him in that moment, utterly terrified for dear life. His trembling turned to violent spasms. I almost thought he'd driven himself straight into a heart attack. "John, please," I squeaked, my voice broken. "Talk to me. What's going on? What happened out there?" His face remained in his palms, and I thought I heard him mumble something like, "They're coming," over and over. Who's coming?" He brought his face back up, looked at me, his face all red and puffy, and replied, "The pack." "Who?" He rubbed his face again before saying, "Look, there are things about me I haven't told you, and for a good reason. Right now, I need you to just trust me and do what I say." Frightened as I was, I couldn't take this cryptic crap anymore. "Then talk to me, goddammit! What is going on? Who is the pack? And what do they want?" His body started jerking more and more. You'd have thought Pazuzu was trying to possess him or something. And suddenly he roared, "Why can't you just listen to me?" Well, this made me shrink again. This time, it wasn't just that he'd screamed at me again, but rather because of the way his voice sounded. I can't really explain it, but it was like his voice was distorting somehow, getting deeper and sounding more subhuman. It actually caused my heart to skip a few beats as it seemed to resonate through my body. His face then winced and twisted, like he was in pain. I didn't know what to do or say anymore. "Just please, Loretta," he forced out through gritted teeth, and that was when I heard the sounds of howling coming from outside. And judging from how loud and clear I could make them out, it wasn't far away from our house. "Oh, Jesus," John whispered. "They're here." In an instant, he grabbed my shoulders tightly. It actually kind of hurt how tight he had me. His terrified eyes locked onto mine, and he shook more violently than ever as he spoke. "Loretta, my sweet baby blossom, I love you. I love you, and I love this baby more than anything in this godforsaken world. And I would never let anything in this world take that away from me." He was briefly interrupted by a sharp seizure of pain. "But I need you to do as I say. I have to get you out of here." And just then I heard the howling again, and this time much closer. I could hear it all from around the house. "Get down," he ordered. I ducked down to my hands and knees, and he quickly clicked the lamp off. "Stay low and don't make a sound. We're going to have to go out through the cellar." I began crawling out of the bedroom as quickly as possible, while still trying to stay quiet. The hallway was still dark, and my eyes had to take a minute to readjust as I crawled towards the basement door at the other end. And I could now hear what sounded like scratching coming from the front door in the living room. Another series of howls almost caused my heart to burst, and I froze in place. What is that? Wolves? While he told me before that there were wolves in Jackal's Peak, I was told usually they stay closer to the top of the mountain range, in a more densely forested area. What are they doing down here? "Keep moving," I heard from behind me. It was John, also crawling on his hands and knees. I only got about another 2 feet further, however, when I heard a crash that sent the door straight off its hinges. I couldn't hold back a scream at that. "Go! Run!" John shouted, shoving me forward. I clumsily bolted the last little bit of the door and threw it open, and from the living room I could hear the sounds of snarling and growling. It sounded deeper and bigger than any wolf or dog I'd ever heard before, and I could hear stampeding footsteps coming straight for the hallway. Instantly, I threw myself into the cellar with John right behind me, and as he was trying to close the door, a blow from the other side sent him tumbling backwards. "John!" I was about to rush over to him when he shot out his hand, stopping me. Just go!" And just then, my blood froze solid when I watched the door get ripped right off the wall. And silhouetted in the doorway, I saw what looked like a gigantic wolf. Its ears perked up and standing on its hind legs and staring straight at me with glowing, burning orange eyes. It was huge, standing at least 7 to 8 feet tall and covered with pitch-dark fur, and with long, lean, muscular arms and a vulpine muzzle with long, jagged teeth. Soon, another just like it joined its side before simultaneously howling into the air. And this time, it was almost deafening, and I think I actually felt my eardrums pop.
I said run, now!
His voice was further distorted now, and as I turned to run for the hatch leading to the backyard, I could hear one of the creatures leap forward and crash land just like a couple of inches behind me. And that was the fire under my ass that had me essentially sprinting to the other end of the cellar, and it was right on my heels. About a few feet away from it, though, I felt its claw slash my back and I fell face down. Extreme pain shot all through my body. More than that, however, I was worried that I may have hurt the baby with my fall. Unfortunately, I couldn't think about any of that because the next thing I knew, I felt it grab my ankle and drag me backwards. I almost tore out my nails, feebly trying to keep from being pulled back towards the beast. I was no use though. Even as skinny as it looked, I was strong. Enough so that when it dragged me close enough, it was able to hoist me up with one hand by my right leg. And it brought me right up to eye level before bursting out a terrifying roar in my face. I squirmed and tried frantically to kick myself free. And finally, as it unhinged its jaws, John bashed it over the head with a metal rod. The creature retracted, roaring and howling in pain, before hurling me into the wall. I felt my ribs crack when I crashed into the wall. My vision started blurring as I tried to catch my breath. And when I looked up again, there the beast was, stomping towards me. Its growling sounded noticeably more pissed off. I tried to get up, but the pain in my ribs made it difficult to do much in the way of movement. It was almost right up on me again when, out of nowhere, John sprang up from behind and wrapped his arms around its throat. My eyes were 2 seconds from shooting straight from their sockets when I saw this.
Get out of here!
Despite the beast thrashing around worse than a mechanical bull, he held on tight to his throat. Eventually, it was able to break his hold and held him away too. But by then, I was able to shamble to the cellar door and begin climbing the ladder. I could hear it stomping towards me, and I all but flew up the ladder. Once I made it out, I quickly bolted the hatch. I knew that it wouldn't hold long, but I figured it would be enough to get away. Not even a minute after doing this, I saw the hatch begin to splinter and stove outwards. Luckily, I was still able to make it to the car when I heard the sounds of them darting for me from behind, and right as I got in the front seat and was about to shut the door, another one of them leapt onto the roof, causing it to cave inwards. Before I could get the door shut, it wedged its massive clawed paw in between them and wrapped them around the frame. I tried to pry them loose, and when that didn't work, I tried to open and shut the door again. Big mistake. As soon as I opened the door again, the beast grabbed me by the arm and tried to jerk me from the driver's seat. I quickly went to reach for the glove compartment, and for the 9mm John had stashed for his trips to the range. I wasn't able to reach far enough from the beast's grasp on my arm to open it, only far enough to barely brush it with my fingertips as I was being forcefully pulled upwards towards the roof of the car. And all of a sudden, I heard the sound of a shotgun blast ringing out from the passenger side of the car. The next thing I knew, I felt it release my arm, and I was able to close the door. Looking to my right, there was John, standing in the front yard and loading another round into the shotgun he inherited from his father. He raised up to aim for another shot when I saw one of the other two charge up behind him, and with a giant leap, it brought him down before he could get the shot off. And that's when the one on the roof decided to join in with its partner in devouring my husband. As the other one skulked closer, I could see John was struggling fiercely against the one holding him down, attempting to use the shotgun as a barrier to hold the beast and its ravenous jaws back. Not thinking quickly, I put the keys in the ignition and threw it into drive before flooring it. And sure enough, it worked, and the one in front of me was sent to the ground. The one on top of John now fixed its enraged, glowing eyes on me. It let go of him and raised back up on its hind legs before letting out an ear-shattering howl to the air. I put the car in reverse and back into drive again, ready to ram it as I had the other one, when it bounded through the air and landed right on the hood of the car. Immediately, it sent a giant hand crashing through the windshield and started groping to grab onto me, as I hysterically went for a second time for the gun in the glove compartment. I felt its claws wrapped tightly around my throat, squeezing tighter and tighter. I could feel the air being forced from my lungs, and the beast's face began to blur. I tried as hard as I possibly could to pry its fingers from around my throat, but it was no good. As my sight started to darken, I thought about my baby, all the memories that now would never happen. But before it could finish suffocating me, I heard something strike the beast's head that caused it to immediately release my throat. I was John, using the butt of the shotgun to bludgeon the beast and causing it to snap in half.
I told you, you damn mutt. You can't have her.
I was relieved, yet confused at the same time. What is he talking about? And for a second, I remember what he told me about. Things I don't know about him. Things he never told me. Did he somehow know about these things? I wasn't given time to think any further about that at the time, though. John ducked down, dodging a massive swipe at the beast's claw before clambering into the passenger seat. Immediately, he went for the glove compartment and drew the 9mm.
Floor it.
He sent 6 rounds straight in between its eyes as it staggered back and off the car.
Come on, get this thing moving.
He barked, snapping me from my daze. I threw the car into reverse again as I saw the beast staring back at me, its eyes now burning and enraged. It reared back to pounce just as I was swerving to turn around in the street, causing it to slam face first into the right door of the back seat. The car was shaken almost to the point of turning over on its side with the impact, and the door was caved inwards. But fortunately, that seemed to knock the beast dizzy, as I chanced a quick look back and saw that it was staggering around. Before it'd have a chance to regain its bearings, I peeled out of the front yard and slammed on the accelerator down the street. We were flying down a mountain pass at least 65, going on 75 miles per hour. I couldn't bring myself to slow down. My mind was bouncing erratically in 10 million thoughts at once. What if they're following? What if there's more of them, out here in the dense woods? What the hell even are they? What do they want? What was John talking about when he said they couldn't have me? What? I was cut off when I felt John jerk the wheel to the left. When I was aware again, I saw that he had just narrowly kept us from careening off the side of Jackal's Peak, a 2,500-foot drop. And once we were safely back on the pass again, we pulled over and stopped the car. And for almost 5 minutes, neither one of us could either do or say anything. We just sat there, trying to catch our breath and steady our heartbeats. And John was the first to break the silence.
All right, here's what we're going to do. You remember the old motel we stayed at last weekend? The one with a hot tub out back?
I remained quiet.
We're going to go there and you're going to check in for a few days. I'm going to sort everything out with the house. I'll come back to let you know when it's clear to come back.
My teeth clenched and my knuckles turned white around the steering wheel. Oh, sure, and I'm just supposed to take that as my reassurance that you'll come back? And I'm just not supposed to bother asking what in the name of fucking God happened back there? Right. I felt myself spiraling into the usual screaming psycho mode I mentioned before. But this time, I knew I had every right in the world and more to be. Judging from the sunken, sullen look in his eyes, I could tell he felt the same.
Loretta,
No, I shouted, cutting him off dead. I don't want to hear any more of your cryptid, cockamamie excuses. I want answers, and I want them now. Immediately, I was a little more abrasive than I meant to be with that last bit, but again, was I not justified? For a moment, he just sat there staring back at me. Figuring I'd frightened him, and rightfully so, I pressed further. Well? Again, he said nothing, just sat there looking guilty. Wow, I scoffed. I was utterly baffled, somehow even more so than I was earlier. 3 years I've been married to this man, and I find out that he's been keeping secrets from me. Not only that, but apparently secrets that now have put the lives of me and him in very real danger. not to mention our incoming child. And now, to top it all off, he can't even have the decency to at least try and tell me what is going on. He opened his door and began to get out the car. I nearly saw red. Oh, and exactly where the hell do you think you're going? Immediately, I threw open the driver door to get out, stomping towards him. So, that's just it. You're just gonna walk away? You're not even gonna say anything to explain or justify what just happened? Why a bunch of things just broke into our home and almost tore us apart? What is going on? What the fuck are you so afraid of?
Loretta, please, not now,
he shouted. I wasn't about to back down that easily, though. Why? Why can't you just talk to me? Your wife. For God's sake, just tell me what's going on.
I said enough,
he roared. This time his voice sounded almost subhuman, and I felt all of my stamina to keep pushing him strip away. He stood at the ledge, profusely shaking and twitching. I felt so small, standing there and facing his back. I felt the tears well up in my eyes again, and I couldn't help but squeak out a small sob.
Please, just listen to me, Loretta,
he said in a shaking, almost completely growling voice. I watched as his body continued to convulse. I thought he was in the middle of a seizure or a stroke. John? I softly whimpered.
I love you, baby Blossom, and I love our baby. I'm so sorry that it had to come to this. I never wanted to allow you to get hurt. I never wanted you to have to be a part of any of this.
Of what? I cried. It felt like in 2 seconds flat, I was going to end up dropping into a full-blown panic attack.
I made an agreement a long time ago with the pack. The people I loved, people like you, would be left alone if I brought them offerings. That's why I've been in the woods a lot.
I stood there, jaw slack, in the middle of trying to fully register what he had just said, while also trying to decide if he was telling the truth.
It was easy at first. Just a couple of small farm animals and woodland critters here and there.
His body jogged so violently now as he spoke that I could see his knees shaking, threatening at any moment to buckle from beneath him. After a sharp groan of pain, he continued.
Eventually, it wasn't enough anymore. They kept wanting bigger and bigger morsels. Tonight, they wanted me to offer them
And he hesitated, still spasming.
A baby.
And I was now hopelessly lost and confused. What is he talking about? None of what he was saying was making sense to me. Or maybe it did, deep down, and I was just too afraid to admit it to myself then.
I couldn't do it,
he said, his voice shaking even worse now.
I couldn't do it, and now they want to punish me by going after you.
Another spasm caused him to finally fall to his knees. Instantly, my instincts kicked in, and I rushed over to him. And that's when he looked back and bellowed in a now completely unrecognizable voice.
No, stay back!
I once again stopped dead in my tracks. My heart almost stopped when I saw his eyes. They were now pulsing, burning orange. Another series of the most violent jerks I'd ever seen before erupted throughout his entire body, and causing him to seize and cry out in pain. For the next minute I watched frozen in terror as John's body seemed to break and reshape itself. I could hear bones breaking and his muscles somehow began to swell in size, tearing through his plaid shirt. And before too much longer, I could see his face start to poke outwards, and his nose deformed and reformed itself into what resembled the muzzle of a dog. His body began to be covered in thick silver hair or fur, and I was too frozen in terror to even scream. Once the metamorphosis was finished and John no longer looked like John anymore, it raised up on its hind legs before blasting an aggressive howl up to the night sky. The intensity caused me to collapse to my knees and press my ears as tightly as possible. When I opened my eyes again, whatever, was leering down at me, snarling and baring its long, jagged teeth. John? I squeaked, shuddering. Nothing. He just stood there, growling at me like he was ready to pounce. Oh, sweet God! My own husband is going to eat me and our unborn child alive! And I slowly began stepping back towards the car. Just take it slow. It took a staggered step forward towards me before going down on all fours and continuing. For a second, I froze, just waiting for him to leap for the kill. John? John, baby, please, please. I knew it was no use, but I couldn't help it. A very small part of me was still somehow expecting to wake up from this. I'd been woken up with the smell of pancakes, bacon, and fresh coffee in the morning, and I'd rushed down to the kitchen, squeezed John until we started to suffocate. Like how I was earlier in the front yard, and we'd laugh all morning at such a weird dream. But he crept closer and closer to me. When I started backwards again, something caught the heel of my foot, and I fell. He was now right on top of me, and I could feel its hot, snarled breaths in my face. When I saw him begin to unhinge his jaws, I closed my eyes, trying to picture me and him holding our baby, the family that'd never be. I love you, John. I opened my eyes just a bit. He was still in front of me. It almost sounded like he was trying to say something.
Run.
And that's when he started growling and lowered himself like he was about to attack. I still wasn't 100% sure that I'd actually had heard him speak. Maybe it was still just wishful thinking, but that didn't keep me from obeying when I started hearing the growls come from behind me as well. When I turned around, I saw that the other two from the house had somehow followed us and were closing in around me. I sprang up and darted for the car, and I saw one of the others bound away for me, attempting to cut me off. And John caught it in the air and pinned it down. They began wrestling like two rabid dogs in a cage on the ground. The partner then charged full ahead towards me. When I made it to the car and immediately turned the engine over. I hesitated for a moment. I looked back to John. He was now on the ground with the other one biting at his throat. I almost wanted to try running it over again to try and help John, but that was when the other one jumped onto the roof of the car. I slammed the accelerator and started flying further down the pass. I tried swerving left, then right violently to shake the beast off the roof of the car, but it had its claws anchored into it, and I couldn't. I started to hear the grinding of its claws tearing into the metal. It was going to tear the roof off, when eventually a really stupid idea formed in my head. It was almost certifiably suicidal, but it was the only thing I had. With a sharp jerk of the wheel, the car swerved over the edge of the pass before hammering the brakes. Sure enough, this managed to actually throw the beast off, hurtling it over the edge and tearing half of the roof clean off as it went. The front wheels were hanging off the edge as well, and I quickly put the car into reverse and managed to inch my way back onto the pass. From there, I made a beeline for the bottom of the mountain. I knew that I needed to at least see a doctor, if not a surgeon, but to me, that could wait. Right then, I was more worried about John. I figured once I got to the motel, I could maybe call the local rangers or the state troopers or something to send somebody out there for him. The road felt like it wouldn't end, despite the fact that I knew it actually only stretched for about another few miles from where I started from. A small wave of relief swept over me when I finally reached the turnoff, seeing the large, bright green sign reading, "Welcome to Jackal's Peak." And after that, the motel was just around the corner. I pulled into the empty parking lot, not even into an actual space, and stumbled drunkenly out of the car. I was completely quiet, but the lights in the lobby were still on. I still remember the guy's face when he saw me. "Ma'am, are you okay?" His eyes looked like he was staring at a dead body, which, to be fair, I probably didn't look far from it at the time. I need... "Here," he said, getting up from his chair and walking towards me. "Come, sit down." He guided me over to the torn, beat-up sofa in the lobby. Just sit tight for a second. I got a first aid kit here in the back. I was sitting down when I realized that I didn't have my purse with me. I had no way of paying for a room. Not only that, but that also killed any ideas of calling for help, as my phone was also in my purse. I started to feel dizzy by this point from the way my head was spiraling. When he came back about 30 seconds later, first aid kit in hand, he asked me if he needed to call somebody. No, but could I use a phone? Sure, it's just in the back. But why don't we get those cuts looked at first, eh? I nodded and he started treating my wounds. If you don't mind me asking, ma'am, how'd you get so banged up? You fall hiking a mountain or something? I just blankly shook my head. Somebody after you? Again, I just shook my head. No. I'm sorry. I don't mean to be nosy, just some pretty bad ones you got here. He finished up before leading me to the phone in the back. You let me know if there's anything else I can do to help, he said before leaving me with the phone. The first thing I did was to call the local ranger station. And to my luck, I was only on hold for a minute before the call was connected. Terrence County Ranger Station. What is the nature of your call? My husband, he's... And I could hardly slow down enough to form a proper sentence. Ma'am, can you repeat that for me? My husband's hurt. He's stuck on a mountain pass. You have to send somebody out there. All right. Calm down, ma'am. Can you tell me your name? I cleared my throat and told him my name. Loretta Redwood. And he then asked me for John's name. John Redwood. And you said that you last left him somewhere on the pass? Yes, at the 30-mile marker. Please, sir, he's hurt. You gotta send somebody out there. He went on to ask me my current location and I gave him the name of the motel. He told me that he was dispatching a unit to me, as well as one to the location I gave them before hanging up. And 10 minutes later, they showed up and took my statement. When they asked what it was that attacked us, I told them that it was a pack of wild coyotes. And surprisingly, they actually bought it, despite it being an extremely piss-poor lie. I declined their offer to be taken to the hospital. Like I said, I was fully aware that my wounds and the possible damage to the baby might be severe. That said, something compelled me to stay put at the motel. He said that he'd come back for me. Again, this was 2 nights ago. And the ranger told me to keep an ear out and he let me know when they found him. The guy at the motel, bless him, is letting me stay in an unused room for free until they send word on John. I was essentially glued next to the phone in the back for most of the daytime yesterday and today. It was this morning, seeing the front page of the Terrace Ledger, the guy brought in with his early morning breakfast run, that I very nearly had a heart attack. Large canine found dead in the middle of the road pass in Jackal's Peak. I couldn't hold back a scream, startling the poor guy while he was eating. I bolted back to the room and immediately locked the door before burying my face in a pillow like I was 14 again, and just letting everything loose. I refused to believe it, and I still do. It may not be him, right? It's just the other one, right? Please, John, oh, sweet Jesus God, Johnny, baby, please don't let that be you. I'm in the back room right now, typing this out on the guy's computer as I'm waiting, and just wanting this damn phone to ring and to hear the ranger tell me that Johnny is okay, that he's coming back and that we can go home. That's all I want, to have my husband back and to go home. I don't even care anymore about the stuff he kept from me or that he's some sort of man-wolf monster. I just want my Johnny back. Please, John, please, come back. Wow. Certainly another one. Wow. What a chest-pounding, nail-biting, incredible story there from the fantastic mind of Corpse Child over on Reddit No Sleep. A humongous thanks to you, Corpse, for allowing me to narrate your story on the show. Really did enjoy your work, and what an intense roller coaster ride that was. I would love to see more from this character and whatever else you can cook up in the near future. Well, guys and girls as ever, you know the drill. Please do let us know what you thought down below in the comments box. Please do like and share. It really does help build the channel and our community further. And why not hashtag TeamFEAR and DMT's Cryptid Crew. If you're an aspiring writer or would just like to have a crack at things like myself, then please do get in touch with me at the brand new contact email, which is, as on screen, contactthedeadone@gmail.com. I really look forward to hearing from you. Well, I hope that gave everybody their werewolf fix for the week. And I hope you're all well and happy and fighting fit. But above all, guys, remember, be safe, not sorry. Done!